Hi Chewies, here's Alexandra and welcome to another Magic the Gathering deck tech video. Well, my friend and me wanted to have equally powerful decks because the major problem we had in the later years was that the decks were not evenly in the power level, and in order to fight this, we have created our own environment to play Magic the Gathering in it. So we had the task to make a deck that is in a modern format, meaning all sets allowed from 8th edition till M13 now, and then in order to keep the decks still at the same power level, we have allowed ourselves to have only 8 rare cards in there, and those rare cards are supposed to not be more expensive than €5 each. So this creates very interesting decks, but not super powerful. So this deck is not supposed to be comparing with a legacy deck or even a super expensive standard deck nowadays. This is just a fun little kitchen table deck, so keep that in mind. And my first deck of this series is now a Goblin deck. I call it Quest for the Goblin Lord because of the first card. We have here Quest for the Goblin Lord. This is an enchantment for 1 red mana, and when it is cast, every time you cast a goblin or a goblin enters the battlefield, you put a counter on it, and if there are 5 counters or more, all your creatures get +2/+0. So this is a card that is quite cheap, that gives all your creatures a good boost. But in order to work this way, it has to be a goblin deck. So, then let's dive right into the goblins. First we have here Krenko's Command. This is not a creature spell, but on the other hand it is. This is a sorcery spell that creates 2 goblin tokens. So, that we have 4 times. Why am I putting this in and not simply 4 normal goblins? Well, this is just simply a card that creates 2 goblins out of 1 card. So more goblins for the cost. So next goblin in the list is here the Goblin Balloon Brigade. We have 4 times. For 1 red mana you get a 1/1 creature with the ability for 1 red mana it can fly for 1 turn. Then we have another goblin. This is the Goblin Arsonist. For 1 red mana, you get a 1/1 goblin, and if he dies, he explodes and makes 1 damage to a creature or player. And then, for last but not least, for the normal goblins, we have here, out of the new Mirrodin cycle, the Goblin War Driver. For 2 red mana, you get a 2/2 goblin with Battle Cry. When he attacks, all the other attacking creatures of you get +1/+0. And with a lot of goblins on the field, this can make quite an impact. When 10 goblins out of a sudden make 10 more damage than they are supposed to be, that's quite an impact. So, now we come to the rare cards. We have here, of course, for a goblin deck, you need a Goblin Chieftain. For 3 mana, you get a 2/2 creature with haste, and other goblin creatures you control get +1/+1 and have haste. Especially the haste part of this is quite important, because you want to overthrow your opponent as quickly as possible, because, well, to be honest, the goblins are not very strong, but if you are constantly attacking your opponent, you will wield him down over time. And this Goblin Lord helps now to boost all your goblins. So, then we have Krenko itself. Here, for 4 mana, you get a 3/3 creature. It's a legendary creature, Goblin Warrior. So you can't cast both of them at the same time. But, well, I have it 2 times in there to raise the possibility to even draw him. So, and he has the ability for tapping, put X1/1 red Goblin creature tokens onto the battlefield, where X is the number of goblins you control. So, the more goblins you have, the more goblins he produces. And also, very important, a synergy with him here, he grants all the other goblins haste. That means when you cast him, you can instantly create other goblins. So, then we have a never dying goblin here. This is also a legendary creature. I have 1 time. For 3 mana you get a 1/1 goblin. Well, quite expensive, but he is never going to die, because every time he is killed he gets on your hand back. So, and then I was looking for another rare I could put in, and this is a good thing here, the Death Mantle of Nim. For 2 mana you get an artifact equipment that grants the creature +2/+2 and makes it a black zombie. But on the other hand, the second ability, that's more important, because every time a creature dies, you can pay 4 and put it back on the battlefield, equipped it with it on it. So every time a goblin of you dies, you can constantly resurrect them with this equipment. Well, I obviously have that only 1 time in, because it's a rare card and I only have 1. But if you draw this, this might rescue your ass. So that is now the goblin base of the deck. Obviously, you need a little bit more tricks to win against your opponents with just the goblins, because, let's face it, the goblins are not good warriors. And in order to break through the defense line of your opponent, you need Skyfire. And red is the color for Skyfire. So, let's dive right into it. We have here Lightning Bolt, the one and only, the best ever printed Skyfire spell. For just 1 red mana, you make 3 damage to a creature or player. So, then we have the nowadays equivalent, the Searing Spear. For 2 mana, you get 3 damage. And then we have the Pillar of Flame. For 1 mana, you get 2 damage. So, that are the cheap burning spells, and they are supposed to burn off the creatures of the opponent to, well, make way for your goblins to attack. And then we have here the expensive spells, the good old Fireball. Yes, I know this is a card previous to the 8th edition, but it was printed until the 10th edition, and so it still is in the modern format. It makes, for 1 red mana and X, it deals X damage to a creature or player, and you can divide the damage by paying more mana for it, and divide the Fireball. So, very versatile spell, and in the late game this can be used to finish your opponent. Also, on the other hand, we have here the Volcanic Geyser. It's almost the same like the Fireball. It makes for 2 red mana and X amount of damage. But on the other hand, you see, it costs 1 red mana more than the Fireball. So, why did I put it in instead of 2 additional Fireballs? Well, this is here a sorcery, not an instant. So, but this here is an instant. You can call this at any time. And the mana cost of this deck is quite low. So in later turns, after turn 3, you have mana overflow. So that doesn't matter that this Fireball or Volcanic Geyser costs so much. So in the end, you have enough mana for that. Also about the Death Mantle of Nim. 4 mana is quite a lot of mana to resurrect a goblin, but in the end, you have enough mana to use that. So, talking about mana, the mana base of this deck are simply 18 mountains. I didn't put in 20 because the mana curve is quite low of this deck and you doesn't need it. And then here in the end you need quite a lot of goblin tokens. So, I hope you liked this little deck tag, the quest for the Goblin Lord, and we see us in the next video. You're Alexandra.